podium? Do I move it to the front? And say?
Only if you want to speak from there. I wouldn't want to speak from behind the desk if I were you.
Okay, so my topic is the death penalty. Is it really helping America prosper? The death penalty has been in place throughout the Western civilization for over 2,000 years. Not only is the question on is it moral or is it wrong, but an arguable topic, but the main question at hand is it helping our society? America's Western allies have already abolished the death penalty, leaving America to be one of 3 left of the industrialized democracies who still carry out capital punishment. My stance on the topic is that it is actually harming America for many reasons. First and foremost, the most important reason is that the death penalty is harming the U.S. because the extreme expenditure while we are in an alarming debt crisis. Also, the death penalty has shown to be unreliable in many cases. And lastly, the death penalty has not proven to deter murder significantly. The previous reasons stated are why I believe the death penalty is only causing harm to us. So for the first and most important reason is that America is already $6 trillion into debt. So that means each U.S. citizen, meaning man, woman, and all children, would have to pay $55,000 each just to clear our debt. So spending a lot of money into these trials is really not the smartest. And it's also a way cheaper to keep an inmate in prison for 40 years than actually go through trial and put them through the death if they get that. The second reason is that it is proven unreliable. There's many flaws in the court system. It has been proven that 7 out of 10 capital cases at least have some minor flaw. The most common errors in the court cases are incompetent defense lawyers and suppression of evidence. Also, the system is very biased. A U.S. Supreme Court Justice named Ruth Bader once observed and said, "I have yet to see a death case among the dozens coming to the Supreme Court eve of execution, state applications in which the defendant was well represented at trial." So pretty much, if you're represented well, then you can get past it, but if not, and most people are not represented well. And lastly, the death penalty has not significantly proven to deter murder. Most police officers and chiefs out there have taken a survey, and in 2008 it was found that most officers put on the lowest level the death penalty as not important at all to limiting the murders that happen. In conclusion, we know that the death penalty is harmful to America because it only maximizes our deficit, and it also is an unreliable system. It has not shown sufficient evidence to prove the system. Therefore, there is no reason to spend so much tax dollars on ineffective, high-cost policy. Probably not the smartest.
All right, Ashley, let me give you a few comments about the presentation. You start off with a question, and if you're using that as just an attention device, that's fine. The problem is that I think that you just continue with the question. Your proposition needs to be the answer to that question, and it needs to be more forcefully stated. When you preview what the supporting structure is, I think it's pretty clear what your position on the question is. But like I said, I think you need a stronger statement of what the argument is at this particular point. There was a good preview for the supporting structure. I appreciated that, and I thought you did a good job signposting the structure of the speech as you went through the presentation. So it's pretty well organized. The information, though, is not being given an oral citation for sources. Most of the information did not have that. You had the one quote from Justice, it's Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that's her last name, so you only had her first name there, so I assume.
Oh, I had that?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
So, yeah. So you need to make sure that that's complete. But we had some factual data about the United States being only one of the industrial nations that continues to use the death penalty. I didn't get a source citation on that. You had a statistic about the number of errors in the process, and I didn't get a source citation on that. You had some information on a survey that some police group took, and we don't get a source citation on that. So I'm not saying that that evidence is not good information for you to use, but it's not complete information in the presentation, and so you want to be more thorough in the citation of that evidence. I do think that there is probably stronger evidence on a couple of these points, especially the deterrence argument. A survey of police officers that lists the death penalty as the bottom of the list of things that would be effective in fighting crime seems like it has only a tangential relationship to whether or not the death penalty deters. The information on the debt, I think, is an interesting one. However, you never give us what the total impact of the death penalty is on the debt. You simply say it costs a lot of money. And by the way, you also had a claim in the speech that said it costs more to go through the process of executing these people than it does to keep them in prison for life, and you had no evidence on that particular point. So that's a pretty important component in the argument, and you need to have some evidence on that. I thought you did a nice job talking to the audience for the most part. You did have some extra time, so the speech, there was room to put in some more solid information to prove your point. I know it's tough being the first person. Thank you very much for volunteering for that.